through their medicine. We still have two women that grow all these plants, and they believe religiously in those medicines. Or from baby colic right on up to whatever might be ailing you if you've got a liver disease. I remember, and I got interested in that. I remember them just being able to doctor you. Now the doctors that I remember during the time that our parents really didn't have a lot of ways of traveling, I remember my family going to an old black doctor. I think they felt comfortable and felt like they could be treated, get the treatment they needed because of how we were living. So that's my memory back as far as our health. And you know, that they believed in growing their food and cooking it as healthy as they knew how. So I'm still very excited about how we were raised as far as our health issues and things like that. Because a lot of things that happen as far as sickness, it was took care of at home as much as possible. There was not a lot of money for hospital, and they didn't believe in going to the doctors a lot. They just did not, that I remember. As far as economics, I can relate to living on the farm, like I said, growing whatever we needed. There was not a lot of jobs that our folks could do because they were not educated. And I do know for a fact, if there was men who knew how to lay brick, or they knew what to do, they mentored the younger men. They mentored them, they taught them what they knew. They taught them how to survive on being able to go out and work whatever jobs they could find. And that's the way that I come up seeing that type of thing as far as our being able to survive and take care of ourselves, like where we lived. There just was not a lot of jobs, you might say, that was office jobs they could get. And until today, the men in my community, Preacher Ricky's been there a lot, the men in my community are men that work outdoors. I talk a lot, Janice, about where we are now economically and with our tribe of not having men to lead us in our office skills there and to get us to where we really would love to be with housing, with building, with whatever. Our men will go out and do construction work. They still have to leave home a lot. They have to leave home a lot and go outside of our community, way outside, I mean Dakota and places like that, to survive and raise their family. You talked about something that is very dear to my heart, Rosa, about discrimination and how it still exists. And I say this from a good heart and a good standpoint today. When this commission first started, there were some struggles that I will never forget. And I will never forget the day I served on the first commission board that was ever formed here back in the 70s. And I had a guy to look at me and tell me, there's not enough of you all out there, you little tribes, to muddy water. That throwed me. I was young. I didn't know a lot. This was before Bruce come on board. A fight got in me that day that I was so determined that I would let every tribe know one tribe was no better than the other. We were all special in the eyesight of God, and if we were going to survive and make it, we really did need each other. And I looked at him and I said, well, I'll tell you like this. It don't take but one to make a ripple in the water. And I made up my mind that day, I don't care who discriminated or who done what, we had to stand, and we still had to fight. So we still have to fight, all of you, to get where we're going, not in a bad physical way, but coming together in unity, doing it right. We've got high standards set now for ourselves. We've set some high standards for our people to be able to live, to go to college, to get educated, and that's my fight within me. I will accept nothing no less from nobody. That's how I feel for working for my tribe and all the other tribes together, because to discriminate is a bad thing. It's a bad thing in any form. It don't have to come from the white man or the black man or the Hispanic. We need to overcome and be better people. We have to. Because we can sit around and we can tell our stories, and our young people do need to hear our stories. They do need to remember and hear where our people came from, our elders, our ancestors, because it is so important. Thank God for a day like today that we can sit in a circle and know that that's past, but it's still there. I mean, we still remember it, but we've overcome it.
Speaking about healthcare and economics, again, I grew up in Hood County, and the only doctor growing up, the only doctor who delivered me and my siblings was a doctor in Waverly, which is in Scotland County. And in his medical practice, he had 2 waiting rooms, one for blacks and one for whites. But my mother and my father knew we weren't black, so we were allowed to be in the white waiting room. And just like I know some of you have talked about, in Red Springs, the water fountains, there are 3 water fountains, at least in Red Springs. I can't say for any other place. One for whites, blacks, and Indians. But, you know, economics, work opportunities, as long as I can remember, many of our people were educators. Many of our people, if you weren't in education, you were in construction. Sheetrock, hangars, and building. I have a friend who lives in Little Washington. He was building this fancy house, and I can say that because he was the publisher of the newspaper there, wanting to have his house made sort of like the ones down in South Carolina, Charleston. And the only bricklayers he could find to lay brick, like they could do, guess where they came from? Pembroke area. He was proud to share that with me, that he met some of our people. But getting back to education, you know, I went to college at Chapel Hill. I got all my undergraduate and 2 graduate degrees there. And you know, being in such a big place, I never met any Indian people until I was a senior in college. It was a very lonesome place. I enjoyed being there. And one of the things many of you don't know, part of my being involved with the Campus Wide, they reached out to me. And we had a meeting on campus. We invited all people who had identified as Native people to come for this gathering. We met at Moorhead Planetarium. Planetarium. There were 25 of us, and we were like a rainbow. And it was wonderful. We were strangers, but we weren't strangers. But getting back to education, after that, I got my master's degree in public health and nutrition. You know, at that time, many of our people were either going to law school or medical school. That was in the 70s. And that was right after the university system became desegregated, because before that, there was even a fight at the university system to desegregate the public university systems. So I was at the beginning of that. And when I graduated, getting back to prejudice or segregation, I applied for a job in Hood County with the health department. Also applied for a job in Robeson County. I was accepted for the position in Robeson County, but rejected for Hood County. The person they hired in Hood County had a bachelor's degree. I had a master's degree, but I was not white, and I was not black. We have a pecking system: white, black, and Indian. In Robeson County, the majority of the people in the unit that I worked with, they were Indian. It wasn't until I had been there for a year before my fellow natives finally accepted me, because I came from Hood County and they didn't know anything about me. Not until somebody said I was an okay person. And it's sort of like the heavens, the clouds parted and the sun came up. So, but getting back economic opportunity, our people have come a long way since the sixties and seventies, and I could say more, but I want somebody else to have opportunity.
That's okay, finish out. Do you have something else? Add it, go ahead.
Well, when I got mad about politics in Robeson County, and this was in 1986, I went back to school again. Well, I'm telling you the truth. And I got another degree, and I took a position with the state health department. And I had to leave home, come back, and leave again before I finally became fully accepted by the larger Indian community. Because getting back to my father as an educator, when the schools desegregated, he lost his job, and he had to go away. For 1 year, he spent a year in the Hallsboro community, helping to keep their school open. After that, he went to Hallsboro, along with some other teachers from Robeson County, who also too struggled to keep a job. And so he taught 7th grade social studies, and that's where he retired from. But even within our own people, like you were saying, there's lots of prejudice, and we need to stop it. We need to stop it. I'm done.
Yeah, we'll maybe open that topic up and we'll see how time goes. And maybe that'll be a talk, everyone then could join in. Ms. Lyon.
Okay, I'll address some of the areas you shared, Ms. Janice. Our churches were segregated, and to a great extent still are. I attend Bear Swamp Baptist Church. My grandfather was one of the founders. And I remember my mama's side of the family sharing that when they had a teacher early on, the church near our church, St. Anna Church, a black teacher came from Elizabethtown, and she taught everybody in that church that one area. That was before we had Indian teachers to teach. And again, I guess my experience being in Pembroke, where we had so many Indian teachers, that people either taught school, they farmed, pastored churches, those who could, or some combination thereof, or they left. I mean, I have brothers and sisters who left and worked in Baltimore, Richmond, different areas. The health issues, we had a doctor in our town, Dr. Robertson, and he lived in a brick house near where, across the street from where Miss Dial has her speech. If you know anything about Pembroke, she has her speech business in a big white house. Yeah. Dr. Robertson's house was there, and he was the town doctor. And yeah, Family Dollar was there. And we had a drugstore. Our druggist originally was white, and that's where you get medicine. But before all that, my grandmother, my father's mother, Agnes Perlane, and her sister-in-law, Lula Jane, were midwives. And I have photographs of them. I didn't know Aunt Lula was one of the midwives in the photo, and that was shared with me. About 5 or 6 of the ladies, and they worked for the health department in Lumberton. They delivered the Indian babies in our community. And we have her medical bag and all that stuff. So there was education, big emphasis on my father's side, but not so much on my mother's side. I don't know that any of my mother's brothers and sisters went to school very much. But on my father's, it was a big thing. They taught the school several of them. And she delivered all of my mother's children, all 12. And she didn't deliver me, and I would ask my mother, I said, how did I get born in the hospital? And the other ones didn't. And she'd say, well, that's just the way it happened. And I have not been able to find out that story. But I think there must have been some other issues going on that maybe my grandmother wasn't comfortable handling, and she ended up in the hospital. So I got teased about that a lot from my other. I had 6 sisters and 6 brothers, and there are 10 of us now, from 67 to 87 are our ages. So I got teased about that. So we had the health care, we had the drugstores, you could get the medicine, the education, those things. The economics was the issue, a big issue. People left. as soon as they could leave some of them, because